Well, as you can hear, there's a little bit of a thunderstorm outside. Maybe you can hear that. I'm not sure. But so today, what I'm going to do is I'm inside inside the house. I'm going to do a little tying. I'm going to tie one of my favorite all-time lures. I call it the Gitter because I don't have another name for it, and for lack of a better name. And I imagine that this has probably been tied by someone else before. I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean that I invented it. I'm sure I'm not the first guy to put one of these together, but it's pretty simple anyways. All it is a cone head on a number 10 hook. The cone head, for today's purposes, the one on here is silver, but for today's purpose we're going to use these silver cone heads here. That cone head is backed up with a 1/8 inch bead, and that keeps the cone head from moving back and forth and wiggling around. And then of course the bead is locked in place with thread, and then I cover that with a wrap of copper wire around that. And I get my copper wire the old-fashioned way. I take it from extension cords and such that are no longer any good. Just cut a section of it out, and a section like this right here, which came from a power cord to something. I'm not sure I don't even remember where I got this, but this section's about maybe 8 inches long, and that'll last me a long time. There's a lot of wire here. It doesn't take much, but we start that out with a number 10 hook. The reason I use the number 10, that's a little big. I could probably get away with a smaller hook. I could probably use a 12 or a 14, but I like the number 10 because of the size of the gap. Fish is a little bit less likely, bluegills especially, a little bit less likely to get gut hooked with a number 10 than they are with 12, say a 12 or a 14. And I get kind of tired of the little ones that I wouldn't normally keep. I got to put them in with my day's take, and I got to count them because they end up swallowing the hook all the way down into the gut, and there's not much you can do about it after they get it down there. And you know, it's a dead fish. Put it back would be a waste, so you might as well take it home and try to get what you can out of a fillet. Now the first thing we have to do is put the bead onto the hook, and you want the narrow end of the bead to go over the point of the hook first, obviously, so that way when you get it all the way on, and then at the bend you got to kind of force it a little bit. There, now you've got it all the way on, and it's going to look like that. The next step is a little bit trickier. These beads are kind of they're really kind of a pain to handle. This can get a little bit tricky if you've got old eyes. One way of doing it that's a little bit more intelligent is to use a pair of tweezers to hold that. See, now you've got your bead, and when that's locked in with thread, that'll lock that cone head in place, and you don't have to worry about the cone head moving around. Next up, we'll get some thread and get that locked on. All right, we're ready to start tying. Now what we got to do here is just like with any other fly. You want to lock your thread in place, work your way down, that's as far down as you want to go, and then you want to come back and lock this thread really tight against your bead. Now the bead's still moving a little bit. A little bit of movement's not too bad, but you don't want it jiggling around, going up and down your deal here a whole lot. Alright. Then we'll go back down one more time. You want a pretty good thread body on here. Not too thick, but not too thin either. We'll cut off our excess here. I'll show you that on the camera. Snip off the excess. And get a piece of copper wire loose here that we can use. Just peel that right off there. Peel the copper wire off. Lay it onto the bug. Tighten it up. I'm going to back up a little bit because I don't want to have that sticking out there. I'm just going to cut that off about halfway up. There. Now, back up to the bead. And then we'll wrap the thread. Now this doesn't have to be a tight, this copper doesn't have to be a tight wrap. Maybe about a 32nd of an inch gap in there sometimes. You can make it as tight or as loose as you want. It's your bug. Once you're making it, you know, you'll know what works best for you, what you like tying best, and you want to break it up a little bit. I've never used this green color before, but it just happened to be handy right there in the box, so that's what I grabbed. And normally I wouldn't use anything like this because I think these greens may be a little, I think they're a little less visible underwater. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that green is not a real strong visible color. The world may never know. Alright. Make a few half hitch knots here. Secure this in place. I normally use fly head cement to secure this, but I'm out, so I'm going to borrow my wife's clear nail polish. Mega Last, the name of it. So I don't know if this is any better than any other clear nail polish, but it's better than no cement. And you really don't need much. A little bit will go a long way here, especially with this. I use water-based normally, water-based head cement. But this acrylic stuff is pretty strong. Once that dries up, that'll be pretty nice. And it gives it a nice bond, and that thing will never come apart. But here's what you got in the end. And it's pretty quick. It only takes a few minutes. Once you get going on these, you can tie a lot of these. And I use a lot of them when I'm pan fishing. To me, they're like bullets. You know, if you lose one, it's par for the course, because this is what you're putting out there to bring in the fish. You can catch a lot of panfish with these. They seem to like them. They're small enough. Tip that with a waxworm or a spike, and fish it down deep. Fish it near the top with a bobber, however you want to do it. It's a pretty versatile jig, and you can use it as a dropper. If you're fly fishing, you've got a double rig. You know, you've got a dry fly on top, and you want a dropper, or a wet fly in a dropper. This thing will roll down the bottom. And I've used it that way too, and I've been pretty successful with it. And it's kind of an inexpensive little jig to make. Probably hear the thunder out there. We're inside today because of the thunderstorm. We're not doing. I should be mowing lawn, but I'll wait till the thunder stops. But right there it is, the Getter jig. Tie a couple today. Take them out. Give them a try.